It all started on a quiet afternoon. Aminat and Zainab sat on the old, worn-out couch in Aminat's small apartment. The warm light of the setting sun streamed through the window, radiating a golden glow on the room. Aminat had been struggling. Life in the city hadn't been kind to her. She needed a job. But not just any job, something that would pull her out of her current situation. Aminat, nervously, almost pleading. Zainab, please. Do you know anyone who can help me? I need something. Anything. I can't keep doing this anymore. Zainab, her best friend since childhood, looked at her. Her eyes softened, but inside, a different emotion stirred, something darker. Don't worry, Aminat. I have a friend. A very wealthy man who might be able to help you. There's a job, though. It's a maid job in the city. You'd have to leave your current place, but it pays well. Aminat was hesitant. A maid. In the city. But the opportunity was too good to pass up. Aminat, eager, without thinking much. I'll do it. If it means a better life for me, I'll do it. What Aminat didn't know was that Zainab's intentions weren't as pure as they seemed. Beneath that reassuring smile, a plan was already forming in Zainab's mind. Aminat, she received the call a few days later. She packed her things with excitement, unaware of the trap that awaited her. The day Aminat left for her new job, Zainab handed her a small, nondescript address. This is where you go. The driver will pick you up, she said. Aminat stood outside her apartment, anxiously looking for the car. A black SUV pulled up in front of her. She didn't recognize the driver, but it didn't matter. She was too eager to start this new chapter. Aminat, excitedly. Thank you for coming. I'm ready. The driver didn't respond, his eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. Aminat climbed into the back seat and settled in, staring out the window as the car drove through the city. She had no idea that this car wasn't just taking her to a job. It was taking her to her fate. The car finally stopped. Aminat stepped out and looked up, her jaw dropping. The house was enormous, more like a palace than a home. The walls gleamed with marble, and the windows were as tall as the sky. Her heart raced. She hadn't expected this. Aminat whispering to herself. This place is huge. How did Zainab even find someone like this? She was led inside by the housekeeper, a stern-looking woman who showed her to her room. Aminat was stunned. The room was more like a hotel suite, with luxurious furniture and a king-sized bed. It was far beyond anything she had ever imagined. She had never expected a maid's job to come with such a grand setting. The next morning, Aminat woke early to start her chores. She dusted, swept, and cleaned the enormous house as if it were her own. But every time the man, the billionaire, walked into the room, she felt the cold sting of his arrogant gaze. He never said a word, but his eyes followed her. His presence was harsh, like a thunderstorm hanging in the air. What are you doing here? Go back to your room. Aminat flinched, confused. She had no idea what she had done wrong. Wasn't she doing her job? As days passed, the tension between Aminat and the billionaire grew. Every morning, he would scold her, and every evening, she would retreat to her room, hurt and confused. But deep inside, Mr. Idris started to notice something. Despite his harsh words, something in his heart stirred when he saw her. She was beautiful. So beautiful. And she didn't beg for his attention. She just walked. Diligently, quietly. She was different from the women he had met before. They tried too hard to impress him. But Aminat, she just did her job, quietly, without complaining. He couldn't stop thinking about her. One evening, after a long day of work, Aminat was cleaning the living room when the door to the mansion's grand entryway swung open. She froze in place. The man was home, but this time, he wasn't the same. He staggered through the door, his steps unsteady, his eyes glassy. The rich, arrogant man, now clearly drunk, shouted at the housekeeper, sending her away. He didn't care for the formalities now. "Get out of my sight. Leave me alone." Aminat stood by the window, pretending not to notice, but her heart raced. What is he doing here, in this state? He had never looked so vulnerable. The billionaire didn't notice her standing there. He walked past her, stumbling slightly until he reached the stairs. But as he looked up and caught sight of her, standing silently, her face still, but her heart racing, the alcohol-fueled confusion took over. Without thinking, he made his way toward her, his steps heavy. You're always so quiet. Why don't you say anything?" Aminat stepped back, shocked. His breath reeked of alcohol, his hands unsteady as he reached for her arm. Aminat quietly, hesitant. I don't understand. Why are you?" Before she could finish, he pulled her toward him, his lips meeting hers in a sudden, heated kiss. Aminat's heart pounded in her chest, the warmth of his body pressing against hers. Heavy breathing, followed by a sudden silence. The quiet, energetic hum of the night. It all happened too fast, the kiss, the confusion, the feeling of being swept away by the heat of the moment. One thing led to another, and they had an intense moment afterward. Aminat wasn't prepared for this. She hadn't known he could be so different. She had seen the rude, arrogant side of him. But tonight, she saw a man struggling with his own emotions, with a loneliness that even his wealth couldn't feel. As they lay together in the quiet aftermath, Aminat's head spun. She didn't know what to think. She was angry, but part of her was confused, lost in the moment, in the madness of what had just happened. The next morning, everything felt different. Aminat had woken up early, like she always did, to clean and organize the mansion. The house was unusually quiet. When the billionaire walked into the room, his face was blank, his eyes narrow as though he hadn't slept a wink. His hangover seemed worse than usual. His mind was a muddled mess, and his emotions, chaotic. He barely noticed her standing there at first. But when he saw her, his gaze lingering longer than usual, he saw something that stirred a deep sense of guilt inside him. Why did he feel so wrong about what had happened the night before? Aminat, still trying to make sense of their interaction, remained standing by the fireplace, her heart pounding in her chest. But she had no idea that her own emotions were mirrored in his eyes. The truth was they were both confused. The billionaire shaking his head, frustrated. "What were you thinking? Why did you do that? You were just trying to get into my bed, weren't you?" Aminat recoiled at the accusation. Her face flushed, anger and hurt mixing within her chest. "I didn't try anything. You kissed me. I didn't want that. Why are you acting like I did something wrong?" The billionaire's expression hardened, his confusion giving way to anger. He had convinced himself, in the haze of alcohol and emotions, that Aminat had been playing him, luring him into a trap. His guilt was twisted into disbelief, and he lashed out. He took a step closer to her, his eyes blazing with accusation. "I shouldn't have trusted you. This was all just a game for you, wasn't it? To get close to me. You're just like the others. Now pack your things and get out of my house." Aminat was hurt, but she was also growing frustrated. This wasn't the man she had worked for, the one who had treated her as nothing more than a maid. The man standing before her now was someone entirely different, someone unrecognizable. "I'm not like the others. I'm not playing any games. You don't understand. And you're not going to understand until you start looking at things for what they are." With a bitter glance, the billionaire turned away, muttering under his breath. He was done with her, convinced she had tricked him. But the words hurt Aminat more than anything else. As he stormed out of the room, she felt a hollow ache. The man she had hoped to build a connection with was slipping through her fingers, and it wasn't because of her actions. It was because of his confusion, and his inability to see her for who she was. She stood still for a long time, her heart heavy, unable to fully process what had just happened. She packed her things and left the mansion. Days passed, but Aminat couldn't rest. Something didn't feel right. The way she ended up in that mansion, the way Idris treated her like she was forcing herself on him, none of it made sense. She kept replaying everything in her head. Why did Zainab say it was a maid job? Why did the man look at me like I was lying? She muttered to herself one evening as she sat by the window of a small room in the city. Her heart was restless. She couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger had happened, something Zainab wasn't telling her. So she made up her mind. The next morning, Aminat tied her scarf, wore her slippers, and stepped out. She wasn't going to sit and wonder anymore. She was going to find out the truth. Aminat stands quietly beside a paper seller, watching people go by. Her face is tense. She holds an old Nokia phone, scrolling, thinking. A woman in her late 30s walks by. Aminat stops her. "Auntie, please, sorry to disturb you. Do you know this girl?" Shows Zainab's picture. "Oh. Not that girl where they come here often with one man. They say she does connection work. Arrange girls for money." Aminat's heart skips. She frowns, confused. "Please, what do you mean by arranged girls? She dey find girls like you wey need work, then carry them go drop for men. No normal job oh. That girl, be careful." Aminat steps back slowly. Her chest tightens. Her breath shortens. Cut to Aminat sitting alone under a mango tree. Flashbacks play, Zainab's fake smile, the car door closing, her arriving at the mansion. Tears stream down her face. Aminat whispers to herself. "Zainab, you used me." She clutches her phone and dials a number. No answer. She tries again. Still nothing. In the quiet of her rented room, Aminat sat alone, flipping through her phone, gathering pieces of her search. The billionaire's actions still rattled her. But it was the truth about her best friend that hurt the most. She had been so blinded by the desire for a better life, that she hadn't seen how she had been tricked and sold into a dangerous situation. "I need to find out everything. I have to know why." Aminat's quest for answers was far from over. She would not rest until she found the truth, no matter what it took. Even if it meant putting herself in more danger. The thought of Zainab, her once trusted friend, betraying her for a life of luxury, was something Aminat couldn't comprehend. Meanwhile, back at the billionaire's mansion, he sat alone in his study, brooding. The guilt gnawed at him. He had pushed Aminat away, accusing her of deceiving him. It had been 7 days since Aminat left. And in those 3 days, not a single thing felt right to Idris. The house felt too quiet. Food had no taste. His temper was shorter. His mind constantly replayed that night, and the argument that drove her away. Just then, the door to his lounge opened, and in walked Mrs. Bakr, his mother. Classy, proud, and powerful. The kind of woman that could silence a room with just one look. Mrs. Bakr, taking a seat, slowly crossing her legs. "Idris, we need to talk. It's about the girl." Idris, frowning, sighing. "If this is about Aminat, I don't want to hear it. I made a mistake letting her near me. She tricked her way into my house and..." Mrs. Bakr, interrupting, with a raised brow. "That girl is not Miriam." Silence. Idris stops mid-step. Idris, turning around slowly. "Wait, what did you just say?" Mrs. Bakr, calmly. "I said, she's not the girl I arranged for you to marry." Idris' voice shaking slightly. But, what do you mean? She came that day. She was picked up as we planned. Mrs. Bakr, nodding slowly. Yes, but the driver picked up the wrong girl. Miriam called me that same evening, crying, saying the car never showed up. I thought maybe something changed, or you rejected her. So I let it go. Idris's chest rose and fell rapidly. His heart dropped. The memories came flooding back, Amanat's confusion, her quiet attitude, her hesitation. Idris' voice almost a whisper. She didn't lie to me. Mrs. Bakr, gently. No. That girl didn't even know you were expecting someone else. She thought she came for a maid job. I checked everything. Her name is Aminat. She's not even from the agency. Glass drops from Idris's hand and shatters on the floor. The realization knocked the air out of his lungs. He had hurt an innocent girl. He had accused her, pushed her out, destroyed her trust, all because of a mistake. Idris, low, regretful. I ruined everything. Aminat hadn't rested well since she left the mansion. Not because of the heartbreak, but because something didn't sit right in her spirit. The job, the rights, the way everything happened, it didn't make sense. If I was sent to be a maid, why didn't anyone from the house ever give me instructions? Why did he always look confused whenever I cleaned? If my best friend sold me out to the billionaire, then why did he drive me away? Then she remembered it again, her best friend's face the day she told her about the maid job. The way she smiled strangely. The way her eyes looked everywhere but at her. That day replayed in her mind over and over. Aminat, picking up her phone. Let me go back to the chat. She scrolls through the messages. Stops. Reads a name, Sake. That was it. The name that kept showing up. Her best friend had sent her a number, said it was the man to contact about the job. She never replied after that. Aminat, murmuring. This man. Sake. Let me check this number on Truecaller. She types. Waits. Then her eyes widen. Her blood ran cold. The name that popped up was not Sake. It was Sakelvin Rituals, do not pick. The warning came so many girls used to mark predators and ritualists. Aminat, hands shaking. What? No. Her mind spiraled. She rushed to social media. She searched for the name. And then she saw it. Headline, Young girl escapes ritual kidnap, warns others about a man called Sakelvin. Aminat, whispers. That means I wasn't going to be a maid. I wasn't sold to the billionaire. My best friend tried to. She stumbles back onto the bed, covering her mouth. She had been sold off. Not to a rich man. Not to a job. To a ritualist. Her own best friend, who knew everything about her, had set her up to die. The only reason she was alive was because she accidentally entered the wrong car. Flashback of that day, two black cars parked close to each other. The driver of one steps out and says, "Are you Aminat?" She nods, thinking it's for the job. She enters. But it was the billionaire's driver, arriving to pick up Miriam. It was pure luck. Or maybe, something greater. But now, she wasn't going to let it slide. Aminat, angrily, tears falling. She wanted me gone. She wanted me dead. I need proof. I need to catch her. The next morning, the mansion was quiet. Idris, the young billionaire, hadn't slept all night. His mind was in pieces. He was pacing the living room when his mother entered, wearing her white lace wrapper, her eyes sharp and filled with questions. "Idris," she called sternly. He stopped. "Mama. Where is that girl?" He didn't answer. He looked down. "She's gone," he mumbled. The mother stepped closer. Gone. Idris, what are you saying? He dropped onto the chair and covered his face with both hands. I made a mistake, Mama. A big one. You said you trusted me to arrange someone for you, she said. Then you brought home a stranger. And now she's gone. I thought she was the girl you sent, he said, voice breaking. I didn't know she wasn't, until yesterday. And what did you do to her? The mother asked, lowering herself into a chair. Idris didn't speak. The mother's eyes narrowed. Idris. I insulted her, he whispered. I accused her. I pushed her out. Silence fell. The mother shook her head slowly. You mean to tell me, you didn't take a moment to ask her anything before driving her out like a thief? Mama, I was confused. No, she cut him off. You were proud. Arrogant. Just like your father. That one cut him deep. I don't know where she is, he said quietly. I don't even know her full story. I don't even know how she got here. But you love her, don't you? He looked up at his mother with tired eyes. I do. Then go find her. And this time, listen. Idris didn't waste time. That very day, he got into his black SUV and drove back to the exact street where he picked her up. He tried to retrace everything. He talked to the man who dropped her off. No lead. He visited local shops and street vendors, showing her picture. Please, have you seen this girl? Most shook their heads. One woman, selling roasted plantain under a wooden shed, looked at the photo and said, she dey walk around here for some days last week. Then she disappears. No fine quiet girl. His heart tightened. He searched hospitals, shelters, and cheap hostels, asking, describing, hoping. No one had seen her. That night, he sat in his car, parked on the side of a road. Rain began falling, tapping gently on the windshield. His eyes were red from stress. His heart was heavy. He said quietly to himself, Aminat, where are you? 3 days later, he was passing by a street market in a poorer part of the city when he saw something, a flash of a blue scarf. His heart jumped. He parked quickly, and ran across the road, pushing through the crowd. It was her. She was buying vegetables, and holding a small basket. Idris froze. His throat went dry. She hadn't seen him yet. She looked tired but calm. Her face carried the pain of betrayal and survival. There was a strength in her now that humbled him. He stepped forward slowly. Aminat, he called gently. She turned sharply, startled. Their eyes met. A storm of emotions passed between them. Her mouth opened in shock. Then her face hardened. She turned to walk away. No, please. Idris rushed after her. She picked up pace, trying to avoid him. I know I hurt you, he said, following. I know I said terrible things. But please, just give me 5 minutes. She stopped. Turned. Looked him in the eye. You threw me out like I was nothing, she said, voice shaking. I know. You didn't even ask me what happened. You believed I lied. I was wrong. I was angry. I was stupid. Silence. I found out the truth, he said. Your best friend, Zainab, she tried to sell you to ritualists. Aminat's lips trembled. I know. I found out. I've been looking for you everywhere, he said. I haven't slept in days. Aminat, I don't care how you got into my car that day. All I know is that I'm glad you did. Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, she said. I'll wait, he whispered. I'll prove myself. Just don't disappear again. She stood there, breathing slowly. Aminat didn't say a word as she walked ahead. Idris followed quietly, his eyes fixed on her back like a lost child finally reunited with home. They passed narrow streets, small shops, children playing with tires. She led him to a compound, a small, old one-bedroom flat she had been staying in. She unlocked the wooden door and stepped in. He hesitated. "Come inside," she said softly without turning back. He entered slowly, looking around. The room was neat but humble. A small mattress on the floor. A table fan. A kettle. 2 plates in the corner. She dropped the vegetables on the floor and sat down, her back against the wall. She was quiet. Idris remained standing. His chest was pounding. "Aminat," he said, trying to start. She raised her hand to stop him. "Don't talk yet. Let me talk." He nodded. She looked at him, her eyes now tired but steady. "I trusted you," she began. "Even when I didn't know who you were. Even when you shouted at me like I was trash. I still told myself, maybe this is part of the job. Maybe rich people behave like that." He bowed his head. "I thought my best friend was trying to help me. I had no idea she planned to sell me to ritualists. I entered your car thinking it was the job she arranged." "I had no idea either," Idris said gently. "I didn't even realize you weren't the girl my mother arranged until she told me." Aminat smiled bitterly. "The funny part is, I thank God I entered the wrong car. Because I would have been dead by now." Tears quietly rolled down her cheek, but she wiped them fast. "I survived what was meant to kill me. And then you treated me like I was the liar." Idris slowly walked to her and knelt. "I'm sorry," he said, voice thick with pain. "From the bottom of my heart. I judged you before listening. I punished you for something you didn't even do." Silence. "I don't expect you to forgive me right now," he added. "I just want a chance to make it right. I'll do anything." Aminat looked away. Then back at him. "I've changed, Idris," she said. "I'm not the same naive girl you picked up. I've seen things. I've learned to protect myself." "I know," he said. "And I respect that." She stared at him deeply for a long moment. "Okay," she finally said. "Let's start small." He looked confused. "Start what small? You said you'd do anything, right?" He nodded. "Start by cleaning my room," she said with a straight face. His jaw dropped slightly. "What?" She stood up, folding her arms. "Clean. Mop. Wash. Everything I was doing in your house, do it here. Then we'll talk again." Idris stood up slowly. Then smiled. "Deal." Idris stood in the center of the small room, sleeves rolled up, staring at the plastic bucket and rag in front of him like he was about to perform surgery. Aminat sat on the bed, arms folded, silently watching him. "So, where do I start?" he asked, looking genuinely lost. "The floor," she said without blinking. "It's not going to mop itself." He sighed and picked up the rag, dipping it into the soapy water. As he knelt, he winced. Oh, this floor is hard," he muttered. Aminat raised her brows. "Oh. But it wasn't hard when I was mopping in your mansion." Idris chuckled nervously. True. Carry on, sir." He started scrubbing. His strokes were weak and clumsy. No, Aminat said, getting up. "Use your back. Bend properly. This is not a TikTok challenge." She showed him the right way to mop. Idris tried again. His back ached. His knees hurt. Sweat began to form on his forehead. "This is harder than I thought," he mumbled. "Exactly," Aminat said. "This is what I was doing every morning, and you were shouting at me like I was disturbing your peace." Idris paused. "I was a fool." She smiled a little. Yes. But at least you're a clean fool now. They both laughed. A short, real laugh. He finished the floor and turned to her. What next, madam? She handed him a small bag of laundry. Wash those. Then we'll talk. His mouth dropped. Clothes. Yes, clothes. No machine here. Pure hand washing. He took the bag slowly. Ominat. I went to London Business School. I didn't learn this. She grinned. Don't worry. Today is your orientation. As he struggled with the soap and water, Amanat's smile faded into something softer. She stared at him, not just the billionaire, not the man who once hurt her, but a man trying to make things right. She hadn't planned to forgive him this fast. But seeing him like this, vulnerable, clumsy, and sweating over a bucket, made her heart soften more than she expected. After an hour of chores, Idris sat on the floor, exhausted, his shirt soaked. Am I forgiven now? He asked, breathing hard. Amina didn't answer immediately. Then she leaned forward, picked up a small towel, and gently wiped his face. You're trying, she whispered. Let's see how far you go. Aminat sat in the car next to Idris, feeling both nervous and excited. She had come a long way from the frightened girl who had been sold by her best friend, confused by the rich, arrogant billionaire, to the woman sitting beside him now. As they drove to Idris's family home, she couldn't help but glance at him. He had changed. His arrogance had melted away, replaced by genuine care, humility, and a longing for redemption. Idris noticed her eyes on him and smiled softly. Are you nervous? He asked, his voice gentle. She nodded. A little. Meeting your mother after everything. I understand, Idris said, squeezing her hand. But she's been asking about you for days. She likes you, Aminat. She can see what I see. Aminat smiled, her heart fluttering. It was a side of him she hadn't expected, the Idris who was a son, not just a billionaire. The car finally stopped in front of a grand estate, and Amanat's breath caught in her throat. It was even more beautiful than she had imagined. The house exuded wealth and class, but the warmth that radiated from it was unmistakable. They walked up to the front door, and Idris knocked gently. A moment later, the door swung open to reveal Idris's mother, a woman of grace and elegance, her eyes twinkling with kindness. Idris, she exclaimed, embracing him before turning her gaze to Aminat. And you must be Aminat, she said with a welcoming smile. I've heard so much about you. Aminat smiled shyly, feeling the weight of the situation. But Idris's mother's warmth helped her relax. You're even more beautiful than Idris described, she continued. Come in, dear. Let's talk. As they sat in the living room, Idris's mother began speaking with Aminat about everything, their lives, their dreams, the future. There was no mention of the past mistakes, no harsh words. It was as if Aminat had always been part of the family. By the end of their conversation, Idris's mother stood up, smiling broadly. She walked over to Aminat, took her hands in hers, and said, I'm so happy you're here. I can see why my son has fallen in love with you. You have his heart, Aminat. You are family now. Idris stood beside her, his smile wide, the pride in his eyes unmistakable. We are getting married, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Aminat's heart swelled. She could hardly believe it. They went up to a room, which now felt like a real home, and Aminat took a deep breath as she looked around. This place wasn't just luxury. It was theirs. A new beginning. Idris stepped closer to her. I love you, Aminat, he said softly. And I promise, I will never hurt you again. She smiled up at him, her heart at peace. I love you too, Idris. And just like that, all the pain and confusion of the past faded into the background. They had come through the storm, stronger and more united than ever. The day of their wedding was like a dream. Idris stood at the altar, looking every bit the handsome billionaire, but there was something different about him. His confidence was no longer arrogance. His pride was replaced with humility, and it was all for her. Aminat walked down the aisle, her eyes locked on him, the man who had once hurt her, but now was her partner in every way that mattered. The love in his eyes made everything worth it. As they exchanged vows, their hearts beat as one. "I vow to love you, cherish you, and honor you for the rest of my life," Idris said, his voice thick with emotion. Aminat, smiling through tears, responded, "I vow to be your equal, your partner, and your love forever." The crowd cheered as they kissed, sealing their vows with a passionate embrace. After Aminat and Idris got married, peace returned to their lives. Love was sweet, and the house that once felt strange now became her home. But one thing still pained Idris: Zainab's betrayal. She had almost cost Aminat her life. He couldn't just forget it like that. So one morning, Idris made a few calls. He gathered all the proof, messages, phone calls, everything. Zainab had to answer for what she did. Days later, Zainab was walking to a cafe, thinking life would just continue. But instead of seeing Aminat, 2 police officers walked up to her. "Zainab Ahmed, you're under arrest," they said. She froze. "Me? For what?" "For selling your friend to criminals," one of them said. Zainab's mouth hung open. Before she could say anything, they took her away. That was the end of her tricks. Back at home, Idris got the call. "She's been arrested," they told him. He nodded. "Good." Aminat sat beside him. "You really did that?" "Yes," he said. "You deserve to be safe." She looked down, heart heavy. "She was like a sister to me." "I know," he said gently, holding her hand. "But a true sister doesn't sell her own." Aminat sighed. "Thank you for protecting me." He smiled. "Always." And from that day, they lived in peace, stronger, wiser, and forever in love. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to more thrilling African tales. And let me know in the comments what you think about this story. See you in my next one.